Good morning, and thank you for being here. Yesterday and today, our office submitted TUI demands to gain access to evidence held by the federal government. In state court, we use subpoenas to obtain any kind of evidence. TUI is simply a process to obtain records and evidence from the federal government because you can't simply subpoena it. Our first demand seeks evidence from the federal government in relation to Alex Preddy's death at the hands of federal agents on January 24th. Late last week, the federal government informed the BCA that they will continue to block access to evidence collected in the death of Alex Preddy. We understand that the Trump administration sent a representative to oversee the discussions between the BCA and the FBI. A final decision was conveyed to the BCA at the end of last week that there would be no cooperation. Hiding evidence and obstructing our investigation is unacceptable, and it indicates a total lack of confidence in their agents' own actions. Our second demand seeks evidence related to the shooting of Mr. Sosa Solis by a federal agent on January 14th. The federal government filed criminal charges against Mr. Sosa Solis and another individual, alleging that they assaulted a federal agent. Those criminal charges were based on information provided by agents who we now understand are on leave for lying under oath. In the latest in a long string of humiliations, the Department of Justice was forced to dismiss both cases with prejudice, meaning the charges cannot be refiled. The lies about what transpired that night are still on the Department of Homeland Security website. We are demanding the evidence in both of these shootings by March 3rd. We are prepared to take further legal action should the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice fail to meet our deadline and continue to obstruct our investigations. While a major announcement was made regarding a supposed drawdown, we hear from community members that ICE continues to terrorize their neighbors. Their tactics may have changed, but the community feels no safer. Every ICE agent could leave tomorrow and lasting damage will remain. Our work will reflect our commitment to transparency and accountability, even as the federal government tries to avoid both. We will have updates on our efforts to seek accountability for these and other potentially unlawful actions in the next couple of weeks. Thank you. Questions? Luke?
Have you received anything from the feds with your TUI demands regarding the Renee Good investigation?
We have not.
And you had a deadline was that?
The 17th.
So we're past that?
Yes, we're past the deadline that we had given the federal government to give us information on the Renee Good case.
Mary, could you talk about your current relationship with the U.S. Attorney's Office? Historically, there seems to have been a pipeline where some of your cases wound up going to them because federal law has sometimes greater teeth. I understand the reverse has been happening, where they've been kicking down some of these cases back to county prosecutors. Wondered if you could just tell us, the extent to which there's cooperation, coordination, and open lines of dialogue between the two offices these days.
Well, the question is, what is our relationship with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and questions about the fact that we have worked together on many cases. I think I heard yesterday, actually, that there are 50 cases that we have that the feds had said they were going to indict. We have always had open communication. Our office often charges cases, as we did in some of the RICO cases. We had charged those first and actually obtained convictions. They were later used then in the RICO prosecution. So very often cases start out with our office. There's been communication. We still are communicating. I think our team met with the U.S. Attorney's Office yesterday to talk about what is going to happen with these cases that they said they were going to take. And I think a lot of it has to do with staffing challenges that they obviously face. We are prepared to prosecute, to go ahead on any of those cases. So simply because the U.S. Attorney Office doesn't have the staff, we are prepared to prosecute those cases.
So there were 50 cases they were intending to take on. What's the status of those cases? Do they no longer have the bandwidth to? prosecute them?
So the question was about the 50 cases that we have, that the feds had indicated some interest in taking. That was the subject of a meeting that I think either happened yesterday or today.
How is the Attorney
Jeff?
General?
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No,
How is
Max.
the Attorney General involved in this? Is he his name involved?
He is involved in this. I talked to him. He was getting on a plane yesterday. He would have been here had he been able to be here.
Can you talk about how your office, the Attorney General's office, and the BCA continue to work in the absence of this federal material? And theoretically, let's just play this out. You didn't hear anything on the Renee Good TUI demands. If you don't hear anything, what does that mean for any potential accountability from the state against these agents? I mean, what do you do if, for instance, you don't even have the names of the agents who shot Alex Preddy? I just wonder what this means in terms of hampering the state's ability to seek any accountability.
So the question was about our ability to seek accountability when the federal government is not providing us with any of this information. So I think it's important to understand that our collaboration with the BCA has been ongoing. And the Attorney General's office. So the BCA never stopped investigating. There's plenty of information out there. We got over, I think, 1,000 submissions to our portals. So we have also, the BCA has also been interviewing witnesses. So none of what's happening with the federal government has stopped the BCA and our office from working together on gathering as much information as we possibly can. So, of course, we would like to have access to whatever it is that the feds have. But I've said this repeatedly, you know, we know some of the things that they took, for instance, in the Preddy case, the gun or guns that were involved. But in the Renee Good, also the car, the gun, that sort of thing. But these cases, there's no mystery about how these people died, right? They were shot to death. And so we think that the medical examiner's reports in both of those cases will provide probably better information, such as how many shots actually hit them, what the angle of the shots were, all of that kind of information. So I'll continue to say I think we're in good shape to be able to make a decision on these cases. I can't say what that will be. And certainly it would be much easier if the federal government were not hiding evidence from us and obstructing our ability to do the investigation.
Can you sue in federal court to compel them to provide at least the names of the agents? Like, is that the next conceivable step if they continue to ignore your demands?
So the question is, can we sue in federal court? So the TUI demands are kind of the first step. This is what we have to go through, unlike a subpoena in state court. This is a process that the Supreme Court requires anytime you want information from the federal government. As has been pointed out, we gave them a deadline of the 17th. That's passed. We've also given them a deadline of March 3rd on these two that we sent out yesterday and today. Yes, it is one of the options to sue them in federal court, and we're currently taking a look at our options right now.
Regarding the Sosa Solis, first of all, do you know the name of the agent, or is that still a mystery, the one who shot the gun?
I don't, so the question was, do we know the name of the agent in Sosa Solis? I personally don't know that. I can't say that the BCA doesn't know that. I mean, as in all of these cases, the BCA, whether they were boxed out or not allowed to be at the scene, they have continued the investigation. And so they may have that. I'm not sure about it.
So my larger question with that one is, of the three, it seems that the BCA was able to do more in that one. They were allowed by the feds to do more. They collected more, perhaps, than in the other two in the immediate aftermath or in the day or so afterwards. Can you share what is the investigation in that one? Because it was not a fatal one. Like, would your office do a use of force investigation, and what potentially could you do if you found wrongdoing in that case?
So the question was about, a little about, would the BCA had better access in Sosa Solis, and what kind of investigation would have been done anyway. I would not say that the BCA had better access. I was on the phone talking to Drew Evans, Superintendent Evans. We also had a prosecutor there at the scene. They were not given any more help than they were on any of these other scenes, but they did do the best that they could to look at the ballistics, you know, where were the shots, you know, that kind of thing. And so I would not say that the federal government cooperated anymore in that case. And, you know, anytime there's use of force investigation, that would typically be done by the BCA, typically in these kinds of cases. So in each of these cases, they have been at the scene. They have been doing, following their protocol for what they normally do. They have been blocked from doing that in some of these cases, but that hasn't stopped them and us from collecting all of the evidence that they possibly can.
Can you provide any more information on the evidence that you have collected through that portal, those 1,000 submissions? Is that across all 3 shooting investigations or just for good?
The question was about the portal, what is some of the evidence submitted, and is that all 3 investigations? We actually had that open on Pretty and Good. We have a team that's looking through all of that. What I can say is there's been some really helpful information there that I don't think we would have had but for those portals. So we are grateful to the community, not only for their resistance and what's been going on here, but for their attempts to help us find accountability in these cases.
Thank you.
Thank you.